In the 1700s, America was not yet a nation. It was a group of British colonies along the Atlantic coast. For years, colonists lived under British rule, farming, trading, and building communities. Tensions grew when the British government imposed new taxes on everyday goods such as paper, stamps, and tea. Colonists had no representation in Parliament, and resentment spread quickly. The principle of taxation without representation became the rallying cry of resistance. That resistance turned into direct action during the Boston Tea Party in December 1773, when protesters destroyed shipments of taxed tea in Boston Harbor. Britain responded with harsh measures, further deepening the divide. By April 1775, open conflict erupted at Lexington and Concord. The Revolutionary War had begun. At first, the colonists faced overwhelming odds. The British Empire commanded the strongest military in the world, while the Continental Army was small, poorly supplied, and inexperienced. Yet determination, local knowledge, and crucial alliances shifted the balance. France, eager to weaken Britain, joined the American cause after the victory at Saratoga in 1777. Under General George Washington, the Continental Army endured hardships such as the brutal winter at Valley Forge but remained intact. The war culminated at Yorktown in 1781, where combined American and French forces forced the British to surrender. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 recognized the United States as an independent nation. For the first time, a colony had successfully broken free from European rule and created a republic built on new political ideals. Winning independence left the United States with an even greater challenge: building a functional government. The first system, the Articles of Confederation, proved ineffective. The federal government had little power to tax, enforce laws, or regulate trade. States acted independently, creating instability. In 1787, delegates from across the states convened in Philadelphia to draft a new framework. The Constitutional Convention produced the U.S. Constitution, establishing a stronger central government divided into three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. This structure created a system of checks and balances to prevent abuses of power. To secure support, the Bill of Rights was added in 1791, guaranteeing fundamental freedoms such as speech, religion, and press. Unlike monarchies and empires that dominated much of the world, the Constitution declared that authority derived from the people. More than 230 years later, this document remains the foundation of American governance. Every law, election, and political debate continues to trace its roots back to that summer in Philadelphia. Despite independence and a new government, one issue threatened the nation's survival: slavery. By the mid-1800s, the divide between North and South was severe. The North moved toward industry and opposed the expansion of slavery, while the South relied heavily on it for its agricultural economy. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860 pushed tensions past the breaking point. 11 Southern states seceded from the Union to form the Confederacy. In April 1861, the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter, beginning the Civil War. It became the bloodiest conflict in American history, with more than 600,000 deaths. Battles such as Antietam, Gettysburg, and Shiloh revealed the immense scale of destruction. The Confederacy initially had skilled generals and the advantage of defending its own territory, but the Union held greater population, industry, and resources. A turning point came in 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation. While it did not immediately free all enslaved people, it reframed the war as a fight not just for Union, but also for human freedom. This discouraged foreign powers from supporting the Confederacy. By 1865, Union forces under General Ulysses S. Grant pushed deep into Southern territory. Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse in April. The Union was preserved and slavery was abolished, though the social and political struggles that followed would last for generations. Following the Civil War, the United States experienced rapid transformation. The Industrial Revolution reshaped the nation from a largely agricultural society into a global industrial power. Railroads linked the country from coast to coast. New technologies such as electricity, the telephone, and mechanized manufacturing changed everyday life. Immigrants arrived by the millions, fueling the labor force and helping cities expand at unprecedented rates. Industrial leaders such as Andrew Carnegie in steel and John D. Rockefeller in oil accumulated immense fortunes. The boom came with challenges. Factories demanded long hours in unsafe conditions. Child labor was common. Urban areas grew crowded and unsanitary. These realities gave rise to labor unions and reform movements seeking better wages, shorter hours, and improved safety. By the turn of the 20th century, the U.S. had firmly established itself as a modern industrial power, capable of influencing global economics and politics. For much of its early history, the United States avoided major involvement in European conflicts. That changed with World War I. When German submarine attacks targeted American ships and the Zimmermann telegram proposed an alliance between Germany and Mexico, the U.S. entered the war in 1917. Fresh American troops provided critical support, and by 1918 the war ended with an Allied victory. After the war, the U.S. returned to isolation, but only briefly. In 1939, World War II began in Europe. The U.S. again tried to stay out until Japan attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. The next day, America declared war.
December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
Mobilization was swift. Factories converted to war production and millions joined the armed forces. Women entered the workforce in record numbers, symbolized by Rosie the Riveter. Major battles such as Midway, D-Day, and the Battle of the Bulge turned the tide. In 1945, Germany surrendered in May, and the war in the Pacific ended after the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The devastation was immense, but Japan surrendered shortly after. The United States emerged from World War II as a global superpower, with influence stretching across military, political, and economic spheres. While America had positioned itself as a leader of the free world, racial inequality persisted at home. Segregation laws in the South enforced separation in schools, public spaces, and housing. The civil rights movement sought to dismantle this system. In 1955, Rosa Parks's refusal to surrender her bus seat sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, demonstrating the power of organized protest. Leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. promoted nonviolent resistance, highlighted by the March on Washington in 1963, where King delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. Protests were met with violence, but national attention grew. Events in Birmingham and Selma exposed the brutality of segregation, forcing change at the federal level. Congress responded with landmark legislation, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, banning segregation in public facilities, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, protecting voting rights for African Americans. On September 11, 2001, America faced one of its darkest days. Coordinated terrorist attacks killed nearly 3,000 people after hijacked planes struck the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania. The attacks shocked the nation and the world. In response, President George W. Bush declared a war on terror. U.S. forces invaded Afghanistan to target al-Qaeda and the Taliban, and later Iraq, under claims that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. The wars reshaped American foreign policy and lasted for decades, costing trillions of dollars and thousands of lives. At home, new security measures changed daily life. The Department of Homeland Security was created, and airport security became significantly stricter. In 2011, U.S. forces killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, but terrorism and instability continued to shape global politics. The events of September 11th left lasting effects on national security, foreign policy, and public perception of safety. The latest chapter of American history is defined not by battlefields, but by technology. The rise of the internet, smartphones, and social media has transformed how Americans communicate, work, and live. Companies such as Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon created new industries and reshaped daily life. At the same time, challenges emerged, including privacy concerns, misinformation, and the impact of constant connectivity on mental health. Politics also shifted. Social media became central to campaigns and public debate. Events such as the 2008 election of Barack Obama, the first black president, revealed how quickly the nation could change. In recent years, Donald Trump has become one of the most consequential figures in modern U.S. politics. His presidency altered the norms of how presidents communicate and how power is exercised. Rather than operating primarily through traditional political channels, Trump has often used direct communication, social media, and executive actions to bypass typical institutional processes. The 2020 pandemic further highlighted both strengths and vulnerabilities, forcing rapid innovation in medicine and work. The digital revolution is still unfolding, but like the Revolution, Civil War, and world wars before it, it is reshaping the American identity in lasting ways.